Cold wind cut through the cracked streets of downtown Seattle as Caleb Rourke, a 45-year-old homeless veteran, tightened the frayed straps of his army coat. He sat beneath an old bookstore awning, sipping the last lukewarm drops of coffee from a paper cup someone had given him that morning. Nights were cold, days were colder, and life, for Caleb, felt frozen in place. People walked past without seeing him, but Caleb didn't mind. After the war took his peace and circumstances took his home, he learned to survive quietly. His only companion was an aging service dog named Shadow, who lay beside him, resting his head on Caleb's boot. Just as Caleb stood to pack up for the shelter's closing check-in, he heard something. The soft, shaky breathing of someone trying not to cry. He glanced around, confused, until he spotted a thin girl, maybe 14 or 15, curled up near the side of the alley, hugging her backpack like a lifeline. She didn't look like the neighborhood kids who asked for change. Her clothes were worn but clean, her shoes expensive, and her hands trembled like she wasn't used to cold nights. Caleb approached carefully, not wanting to scare her. "You all right, kid?" he asked gently. The girl flinched, pulling her backpack closer. "Don't come near me." Shadow tilted his head and let out a soft whine. The girl stared at the dog, surprised by the kindness in his eyes. "I'm not here to bother you," Caleb said softly. "Just making sure you're safe." She swallowed hard. Safe doesn't exist. Caleb recognized that tone. He had heard it in soldiers who carried too much pain. He hesitated, then sat a few feet away. Not close, not far, just present. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "Lena." Caleb nodded. "I'm Caleb. This is Shadow." She didn't speak again, but she didn't run. Hours passed. People came and went. The city lights flickered on, painting the streets orange and gold. Finally, Lena whispered, "Do you know a place where I can stay? Just for tonight?" Caleb wasn't supposed to bring strangers to the shelter, but something in the girl's shaking voice, something familiar, made him push logic aside. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I'll take you somewhere safe." She stood slowly, clutching her backpack. For a moment, the streetlight illuminated her face, and something tugged at Caleb's memory, a familiar softness in her eyes that he couldn't place. But he pushed the thought away. He didn't know yet that taking Lena with him would unravel a truth that had been hiding for nearly 15 years, a truth that would change both their lives forever. The shelter was nearly full, but the staff knew Caleb. He volunteered there whenever they needed help. They let Lena stay in the youth dorm for the night, provided she kept to the rules. After making sure she had blankets, Caleb waited outside the room, wondering why he cared so much. Something about her felt familiar. The next morning, Lena approached him in the cafeteria, carrying a tray of oatmeal. "You didn't have to help me last night," she said quietly. Caleb shrugged. "Didn't feel right leaving you out there." Lena hesitated before sitting beside him. She kept glancing over her shoulder like someone might burst in and drag her away. "Are you running from someone?" Caleb asked. Her spoon froze mid-air, and for a moment she didn't breathe. Then she whispered, "I'm running from home." Caleb leaned back, surprised. "Trouble with your parents?" Lena shook her head. "Just one parent, my mom. She lies about everything, and she controls everything I do, every move, every breath, and she never tells me anything about my father." Caleb felt something pinch inside his chest. "Your father's not around?" he asked casually. "I've never met him," she replied. "Mom says he left before I was born. But I found letters, hidden in her closet, from him." Caleb felt the world tilt. "She told me he never cared," Lena said, voice cracking. "But the letters, they say he tried to find me. He wrote about wanting to meet me, to be in my life." Caleb swallowed hard. His heartbeat quickened. Too quick. "What was his name?" Caleb asked, trying to stay calm. Lena reached into her backpack and pulled out a small envelope, worn from travel. She handed it to him. Caleb's hands shook as he flipped it over. His breath caught. On the back was a return address, Military Base 2009, and the sender's name, Caleb Rourke. His own handwriting stared back at him. The room spun. His breath froze. Lena watched him closely. "Do you know him?" Caleb struggled to speak. Words tangled in his throat. I wrote this," he whispered. Lena blinked, confused. "What?" Caleb opened the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside was the letter he wrote 15 years ago. The letter he mailed to a woman who never responded. The letter to the daughter he never got to meet. Lena's voice shook. "Caleb? What do you mean you wrote it?" His hands covered his face. Every memory hit him like a tidal wave. "Lena," he whispered, voice breaking, "I think I'm your father." Lena's tray clattered to the floor. The world around both of them changed forever. Silence swallowed the room. Lena stared at Caleb as if he had just spoken in another language. "You're lying," she finally whispered. Caleb shook his head, tears burning behind his eyes. "I wish I wasn't. I didn't know you existed. Your mother left before you were born. I searched for years." Lena backed away, shaking. No, this is crazy. My mom told me you abandoned us." Caleb's voice cracked. "I never even met you. She disappeared, Lena. I swear I tried." Shadow whimpered beside them, sensing the tension. Lena grabbed her backpack. "Stop! Just stop! I don't want another lie." "Please," Caleb begged, "let me explain." But she ran, racing through the hallway, out the shelter doors, into the rainy streets. Caleb stumbled after her, but his leg, injured years ago in combat, buckled. He winced, gripping the doorway, helpless as she vanished into the storm. Hours passed. Caleb searched every block, asking shopkeepers, scanning bus stops. Nothing. By nightfall, he collapsed beneath a street lamp, exhausted. Shadow lay beside him, whining softly. "I can't lose her again," Caleb whispered. Just then, a voice spoke behind him. "You're looking for the girl from earlier?" Caleb turned to see a street vendor cleaning his cart. "She was here," the vendor said. "Crying. Said she had nowhere to go." Caleb's chest tightened. "Which way did she go?" The vendor pointed toward the pier. "Said she wanted to see the ocean." Caleb thanked him and hurried toward the waterfront, each step slower than the last. At the far edge of the pier, he saw her, sitting alone, knees pulled to her chest, staring into the dark waves. Caleb approached slowly. "Lena," he whispered. She didn't move. "Why didn't you come for me? Why didn't you try harder?" Caleb's eyes filled. "I wrote letters every month. I drove to the last address I had. Your mother changed her name, changed cities. I had no legal way to find you." Lena wiped a tear. "She said you were a coward." Caleb shook his head. "I was a broken man, but never a coward when it came to you." Lena turned toward him for the first time, her face streaked with rain and confusion. "Then why are you homeless?" she asked softly. He exhaled. "War takes things from us. I lost people, lost myself. But I never stopped wanting you." Lena's lip trembled. "I don't know what to believe." Caleb nodded slowly. "Then don't believe words. Believe actions. Let me prove it." Lena looked out at the waves again. Then she whispered, "I'm scared." Caleb sat beside her. "Me too." But neither walked away this time. The next morning brought pale sunlight over the water. Caleb and Lena sat quietly, letting the tide's rhythm calm their tangled emotions. Finally, Lena spoke. "If you're really my dad, what do you want from me?" Caleb shook his head gently. Nothing. I just want to know you're safe. Lena hugged her knees. Mom always said I didn't need a father, that he'd only make my life worse. Caleb sighed. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she thought protecting you meant keeping you away from me. But she was wrong. Lena wiped her face. Why didn't you hate her? Because she gave me you, Caleb said softly. The wind quieted. Lena's eyes softened, just a little. What happens now? She whispered. We take it slow, Caleb replied. One day at a time. Shadow placed his head in her lap, and she stroked his fur gently. It was the first time Caleb had seen her smile, small, fragile, but real. I don't have anywhere to go, Lena admitted. And Mom, she doesn't want me anymore. Caleb clenched his jaw. You're not going back to the streets, not while I'm breathing. But you're homeless, she said softly. Caleb nodded. For now. But the shelter director offered me part-time work last month. I didn't take it because I didn't think I had anything left to fight for. He looked into her eyes. But I do now. A tear slid down Lena's cheek. Caleb continued, voice steady. We'll get a small room. I'll take the job. You'll stay with me as long as you need. It won't be fancy, but it'll be safe. Lena whispered, You'd do that for me? After everything? Caleb smiled through tears. You're my daughter, Lena. I've been missing someone I didn't even know I had. Lena finally leaned toward him, slowly, carefully, and Caleb opened his arms without hesitation. She buried her face in his chest. It was the first time in years he felt whole. Later that afternoon, they walked back to the shelter together. Caleb filled out the job application. Lena was given a temporary youth room. For the first time, she unpacked her bag without fear. When she looked up, Caleb was standing in the doorway. You ready? He asked. For what? She asked. For a new start. Lena took a deep breath and nodded. Caleb reached out his hand. She took it. Together they stepped into a future neither expected. A broken soldier and a runaway girl, no longer lost because they finally found each other.